You're never going to believe who we talked to this week on Shoe and Show.
The people that I was talking to at this company that needs to let us run the analysis, you know who you are. And the amount of time that we've spent in between, it's probably $300,000 or $400,000 that they've let go.
Wow. Hey, welcome back, faithful Shoe and Show listeners. I'm one of your co-hosts today, Matt Priest. It's so good to have you with us today. Mr. Crockett, we don't host together that often, but when we do, it's always a special treat for me because we spend a lot of other time together talking about trade and tariffs and supply chain chaos. And it always helps in this space to have friends who are in the supply chain, but also have done a lot in the footwear space and actually grew up in the footwear space. And so who's on today's program with us today, Thomas?
We are excited. We're still going to be talking about those issues. We can't get away from them, but we're excited to bring in Brent Barkin, who is Executive Vice President of ShipSigma. So, Brent, thanks so much for joining us. We are excited to get the conversation started today.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, well, I will say, I think I'm going to step out on a limb here because we didn't clear this in the green room, but I think all three of us have really strong ties to Alabama. Thomas from Dothan. Brent, you're from Mobile, and my mom was from Monroeville, my dad's from Montgomery, and they both went to the university. So, and Thomas got his law degree at the university, but he also went to Auburn for undergrad. Any other ties there, Brent? I know you're in Alabama.
No, that covers almost all the Shoe Station stores in Alabama, so that's pretty good.
That's awesome. Is there one in Monroeville?
No, close enough. That would have been Dothan, Montgomery, Tuscaloosa, Auburn.
Got it.
Wow.
There's one in
small world. That's
amazing. A small world.
Hey, I'll talk to Cliff. Maybe we can make that happen.
There you go. That's a good point. So, Brent, you mentioned Shoe Station. What we like to do in this conversation is often say, "Hey, tell us your shoe story. Like, how did you get into the business?" And you clearly have been in the business for a long time. So what is your shoe story?
Yeah, too long in some ways. So I started in the business, don't tell the Alabama Department of Labor, but when I was 10. So my sister
They don't care. I promise you they don't care.
They really don't care in Alabama.
Were you married too? I mean,
that's right. Exactly. So age 10, helping my father at his grand opening of our Mobile store. And kind of from day one, I was the kid who wasn't smart enough to stay away, and I kind of stuck around. We were giving away popcorn and balloons at the grand opening, and worked there all the way through high school, through some of college. Came back to Mobile and worked there 20 years until we sold the Shoe Carnival. So, and did everything from checking in shoes, straightening shelves, to running the company.
That's amazing. Yeah, you went all the way from like sit and fit to top guy at the entire company. Now, what was kind of in your mind in that journey? You saw a lot of change in the industry. We've seen a lot of change, right? We've seen e-commerce. You guys were obviously acquired by Carnival. And I will say, just in a broad sense, the Shoe Station strategy is being more, and this is publicly reported, but widely adopted across Carnival. So you guys did something right. That has to kind of give you a sense of pride in particular.
No, it's fun stuff. And my siblings, when we see announcements of stores changing names to Shoe Station or new Shoe Station stores, my siblings and I kind of always give a nod to our dad, which is, it's cool stuff, right? So, I mean, from being one store, on the grounds of Bel Air Mall in 1984 to potentially having as many as 400 Shoe Stations here within the next couple of years is really cool.
Wow.
Yeah. But definitely a lot of changes, as you said, in the brands that are out there that are big, and in where you locate, malls versus strip centers versus lifestyle centers. So much has changed, but the concept lives on, and obviously it's one that's resonating.
It is. How about the background you got there, right? Has any of that, well, what are some of the main things that have translated to what you're doing now? Some of the lessons you've learned?
I thought you literally meant, because I've got some Shoe Station stuff up here.
And the literal background. In case you're wondering, you can see us on video now, so be sure to check out our YouTube page.
I have one of our grand opening pages over here. I won't bother you to turn it, but just trust me, it's like right there. No, thank you. I can be a little literal. No, so I would say, interestingly, that's helped more than I thought it would. I was approached by A salesman of a similar service about a decade ago, Matt Duncan, and he reached out to me summer of 25 and said, hey, would you be interested? And you tend to know some people in the industry. Would you be interested in kind of helping me make some connections? And that's how I started with ShipSigma. But my background on ShoeStation, on e-com, and just from being COO and CEO of ShoeStation, just knowing how much is negotiable and knowing how, you can only negotiate so much with the right information. And I think that's kind of where ShipSigma comes in, because, we thought we were great negotiators back in the day, and we're negotiating our UPS and FedEx rates. And come to find out, we were being overcharged like the rest of us by 10, 12%. And it's just that understanding of kind of constant negotiation. Matt, Thomas, you deal with it all the time for your constituents, and the best ones learn to negotiate almost everything. And this gives them the kind of extra tools to negotiate correctly. Yeah. And that's basically, how plugging in from a CEO and then moving into this role makes sense. If anything that makes sense, from packages to shoes, I guess they all came in boxes. So.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Well, you have, being down in what we call it, what my family calls LA, right? Lower Alabama.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You have to have that Alabama nice. So it's not got Southern kind of hospitality and kindness. Doesn't always translate well to the negotiating room, right? To the negotiating table.
No, it does, but those are some of the scariest negotiators sometimes.
I bet. Bless your heart as they stab you in the back. Is that what you're saying?
Or they just say, no, can't do that. Sorry. Wait, what? Okay, what do I do now? You're on the other
side. Like
illuminate. Now, my dad on the negotiating side was he grew up, old Macy's, Federated. So his negotiation he was from the South, but it was not Southern.
Mm-hmm.
He was blunt as all get out. But yeah, we've got to be a little more polite down here.
Yeah, for sure.
When you're talking about shipping contracts too, when you're looking to get kind of the best rates there, what are some misconceptions companies have when it comes to their shipping contracts?
I would say one, a contract, a shipping contract is like kind of an SEC coach contract. They're always renegotiable. So, mid-season adjustment, and and people really don't get into that thought process. Back in the day, UPS, FedEx, even though they don't talk to each other much, they were always 5.9% every January, 5.9, 5.8, 5.59, 59, 59. And that was one thing where you could think you could lock in a multi-year contract. You're getting a pretty good deal. That makes sense. They don't adjust rates one time a year now. They adjust rates as many as a dozen times a year. And they're hitting you on a residential surcharge change, a dimensional weight change, additional handling change, all year long. So if there's a question of fairness and somebody's like, well, I made a contract, I'm going to stick by the contract. They're not really sticking by the contract either. There's in the lines of the contract, it says they can change the contract, right? So you have, every ability and every authority to come back to them and say, look, we recognize we have a contract with you, but that contract's about to be due and we need to make a change, and here's what we need. And that's one of the things that we work with those customers, is both to understand how they're spending, how much they're overpaying, and kind of what the ask is and how they frame the ask, so that they're asking for something reasonable from carriers, and to frame it in such a way, frankly, that the rep can just forward it along the management, and the management sees it in a format they're used to, because our C-suite comes from the carriers, right? So their upper management sees it and goes, oh, okay, I see. Well, they're growing and their growth is going like this, and that's why they want better rates. Or, hey, they're in a cost cutting stage and they're really looking at ways to simplify, or they want to pass on their savings because they want to lower their e-com free shipping threshold. So we give them kind of the tools to have that conversation and to have it intelligently. And anybody can come in and go, I want a better rate. Well, they're a duopoly, right? So FedEx is like, nah, that's the best rate we got. Well, if you come in and give them a reasonable ask, and it's based on their cost to serve, which we ultimately know, we know what their bottom rate is that hits their cost to serve. then you're making a reasonable ask. You're negotiating with knowledge, and that's what we help do.
So you're saying you need to be more like a Lane Kiffin and chart your own course, and not a Hugh Freeze where you get shown the door. Is that what you're saying? Is that how this translates into SEC football coaches?
I was kind of hoping for Lane until you went to LSU, but yes, I like the analogy, not the specifics of the exact. Well, so yes, I agree with you. Absolutely, you have to. Everything in life is negotiable. It doesn't. You can negotiate. The best way to do it is to negotiate. Honestly, where you're asking for a specific thing, you're not making a statement that you're going to do something that you're not going to do, but to negotiate, and it's your right to negotiate. And unfortunately, if you do not negotiate, your rates will not only go up the 5.9% published rate, but that 5.9 is an average of all the charges that they charge. So to a certain retailer, your rates may be going up effectively 10% because of the way that they've hit you with residential surcharges and whatnot. And if you don't renegotiate 3 years after your contract, you could be paying as much as 35% more 3 years later than you were paying for the same shipment. So it's well within your right to negotiate. And to your question, Thomas, I'm most surprised that they don't feel like they have the authority or the right to renegotiate, and they absolutely do.
You kind of mentioned a hidden cost there. Are there other ones? Like, what are some of the main hidden costs that maybe companies might be missing when they're thinking about this negotiating or renegotiating?
So there's 150 some odd negotiable points on those contracts.
What?
Yeah.
Goodness.
So those contracts are written, like a will and a trust. I mean, they're written, I would say, to cover themselves, but they're intentionally obfuscated, right? There's not a simple gridded chart. It's number of pages, and it almost looks like the same thing over. There's one set of pages for the ground, but it's the residential surcharges. It's the dimensional weight. So for those of your listeners who aren't aware, most of them are, a dimensional weight is this cool magic where a 5-pound package, when you pay for it, is no longer 5 pounds. It's 10 pounds.
What?
Because if the box is too big, you hit a dimensional weight. And you can't make this stuff up. It's real. You can't make these up. So we look at people's, dim divisors, and basically, if the dim divisor isn't right, you're paying. The larger your box gets, the more you're paying for the same weight. And it theoretically makes sense, right? Because the truck, it's not just how much the truck's axles can fit. It's how much that fits in the actual truck. Right. So if you had 1 2-pound box that fit the whole size of the truck, they got to charge you more. That makes sense. But the way that they set those divisors in certain situations doesn't. And there's what they charge you: delivery, extended delivery surcharges, residential surcharges, minimum package charges. So this is my favorite. We've had conversations with a retailer, an e-com provider, or a business to business that's like, we got a great rate. We got a great discount, man. We got a 75% discount. The only problem is a 10-pound box, if you drop it down 75%, would be $2.50. You might in your contract have a minimum charge of $7. So it hits it. Mm-hmm. So you're getting an effective 30% discount. Now, on a $100 one, it might go down that much. But if you don't ship very big packages, very heavy packages, you're hitting your minimum charge. And there's just so many of those. None of us can. And man, I ran the company for 5 years, and I got deep into the weeds. I had no idea at Shoe Station. No idea. You couldn't do it. So that's the main thing. So we have an ability to take their invoices, see what they're being charged, how they're being charged. And the best thing is when we negotiate with them, we're not asking for 100 different things to be changed. We asked for just the ones that cause the problems to be changed. Right. So we don't have to worry about, we're being charged on a shipment to Alaska. They don't ship to Alaska, so that's an example of, if you're shipping commercial to commercial, you don't need to worry about negotiating residential surcharges. So we help them focus on very specific asks that bring the biggest change to what they pay at the end of the day.
So let me ask you a hypothetical, Brent. Let's say I'm the head of a shoe company. Let's call it Mockingbird Shoes based in Monroe, Alabama.
Love it.
My grandmother was neighbors with Harper Lee. And so I literally visited Harper Lee as a high schooler. And anytime we were in town, we'd try to go by and see her, and she had books in her oven. I mean, she didn't cook; she used it to store books. But anyway, I digress. So it's Mockingbird Shoe Company. Let's say we've got 25 stores over the greater Lower Alabama region, and I've never engaged with ShipSigma. And I'm like, I'm gonna call my good friend Brent down in Mobile. I've heard he's at this awesome new company. Tell us, what's the process like? Is it more colonoscopy, or is it like, plug and play? Kind of walk us through that.
It's like my Whoop, and it's that easy. We basically, and thank you for calling me in that hypothetical. Smart
sure, of course.
But no, it's like a Whoop. I mean, we're basically uploading their invoice data, and in 3 days we tell them how much they should have been, how much they are paying. And the data they get, just even from the analysis, is very detailed. It's here's how you ship. Here's a map of where you ship. Here's what those DIM charges look like. Here's on average, you're paying twice the real weight on your packages. So we give them a ton of analytics as a result. That's all free. But that part then we then say, here's what you should be paying. Here's what you are paying. And then we'll work with them on the difference. So if they don't want to download 12 weeks of invoices and email them maybe they're not so tech savvy, maybe that's complicated, they put them in CSV file, they can literally go into our portal, put the logins in themselves, it's all secure, and then we get the information pulled from that. And in fact, in this hypothetical, you could even tell them they don't even have to call me. I'd love to talk to them. They sound awesome. They're from Monroeville. But they can just go to our website and they can actually do it right there on our website, send the information. 3 days later, we'll have the analysis done and ready to present to them.
Wow. And is there certain cycles? So let's say, okay, let's continue the hypothetical. Yep. Brent, I got this back, man, and it looks like I can save a ton. And my assumption is that my savings will pay for this whole operation with ShipSigma, which is a pretty cool deal. Yep. What's next? Are there cyclical times throughout the year that you have a bigger bang for your buck, or do you immediately start negotiating?
Right.
How's that work?
Right then. So I had a great conversation with somebody that we've done the analysis. Well, we want to do the analysis for, and they're like, "Well, we're still negotiating it on our own." Hey, absolutely, I do that. The only issue is if I have a hole in my pocket and I'm spilling out money. And I say, well, I can stitch that for you. And you say, well, hold on, I think I'm going to take care of it on my own. 6 months later, the money's still spilling out of your pocket. So that's the only thing I do say is there's no time like the present to run the analysis, because we've run the analysis. We ran it for a company down here in Mobile, ran the analysis. We were floored. The rates are great. It does us no good to lie to you and say we can get you better, because we guarantee our savings for the most part. If we say we're going to save you 12.5%, if we don't save you 12.5%, you don't owe us money, and we only earn on the savings that we help you get. Earn savings, and we document it literally to the package level. So with this actual company in Mobile, I said your rates are fantastic, and in fact, we love that kind of analysis because it gets us smarter, because we have over $2 billion worth of those packages flowing through our system now, and the better rates that we see, the better we're able to negotiate for everybody else. So if your hypothetical friend, great name, by the way, wants to run it, if we can't save them anything, they did us a favor, because we run it and we say we can't save you money. Your rates are great. Thank you. Now we know even more about shipments that go like this, or small box sizes in that situation.
Yeah. Kind of.
If let's say this hypothetical, somebody is right now at the moment they're renegotiating a contract, what's the one bit of advice you would give that person?
Self-serving, I would say try the analysis first, because it at least gives you a sense. And this is not, I mean this in the best way, that your rep is trying to help you. They actually are trying to help you. I would liken it to a shoe rep, and we saw a lot of them, showing you the shoes and saying, hey, the shoes are $12. And you say, can't I get them for cheaper? He goes back to his boss. He comes back and says 10. He thinks he's getting you the best deal. He was told by his boss 10. That's what they're doing. But what he doesn't know is, and his boss might not be sharing, they just sold those shoes to DSW for 7, or they sold them, to my buddies at Shoe Carnival. They're great negotiators for $650. the salesman doesn't know that, because guess what? He doesn't sell those accounts.
Mm-hmm.
So in the middle of that negotiation, your salesperson is still your friend. We actually, when we do this negotiation with them, we still suggest they still use their salesperson. Well, we just clarify what they're asking their salesperson, right? It's not just give them to me cheaper or give them to me for $3, right? I know companies that were really good at that. Some of our competitors were great at that. So much so that, there's a certain person's name who is, a merchandiser. They won't even talk about it anymore. He's like laughed at in a great way. He was a fantastic negotiator. But you asked for that from your UPS or FedEx rep, they're going to laugh. Like, no, nobody gets that. Well, nobody they know gets that.
Yeah.
So in the middle of that negotiation, I would say, let us run the analysis. You can still negotiate if you want. Just don't sign it. If you really want, you present us with, hey, they said they can save us this. Present us with that. We'll rate what their packages would have been on that new rate. And then we'll say, we can save you even better than that. And then we'll show them. So great, do it. But again, there's money spilling out of the pocket while they do it. It takes our typical negotiation 10 weeks.
10 weeks.
Start to finish. The people that I was talking to at this company that needs to let us run the analysis, you know who you are. You probably listen to Matt and Thomas. In the amount of time that we've spent in between, it's probably $300,000 or $400,000 that they've let go.
Wow.
Yeah. So again, and we, what we charge is only on the savings, and it's a percentage. But what did I say at the beginning of the conversation? Everything's negotiable. So talk to us. We're going to make a fair offer in terms of what we think is fair. But obviously, if you're a bigger shipper and the savings are bigger, we'll work with you more, right? So,
yeah, I love it. I mean, look, we're all subscribed to these things now, like death by 1,000 apps, where everything's on auto renew, and you get the credit card, and you're like, oh man, I got for another year, I got Duolingo or whatever, and so it seems like a lot of the underlying industry on the shipping side, Brent, is just on auto renewal. You guys are coming, so you know what? You need to be on auto negotiation. Like, you need to be constantly thinking about how you renegotiate.
Well, Matt, I think
they will. So you might.
I think your new side gig should be to work for us, because that's one of the other things that we do is when you do sign up with us, every time your rates change, because they're changing 10, 12 a year, we're seeing that before you see it.
Yeah.
So, when I was getting the UPS bill, I can't say how much we were spending, but let's just say it was, throw out a number, $100,000 a week we're spending on shipping. Well, the next week it could be 120. It doesn't mean my rates went up 20%. I might have shipped 20% more stuff.
Right.
You don't know because of that fluctuation. So if you're the CFO, unless you're looking at a package every single week, they hit you with a change. You might not notice it for months. We notice it immediately because we're seeing that, and we know that the second they made a change, well, hold on, change was made. We alert you. And then we can start the ball rolling again. Or if we know that they tend to do changes on these, we will negotiate within that addendum or contract locks on certain types of charges where we pre-actively negotiate against them raising certain surcharges.
Got it. That's awesome. Well, Brent, this has been super illuminating. Where should people go to either get in touch with you or hit the website? Where should we direct listeners?
Yeah, thank you. So ShipSigma.com.
Okay.
That's the easiest way. I'm b.barkin at ShipSigma.com. And, and again, the analysis is the easiest thing to do. It's like the first thing you do when you take your car to the mechanic, they plug that thing in. That thing tells you a lot more. Why is my car making that noise? Magic thing they plug in tells you it's doing it because of this. There's no mystery to it. And that's really what we offer, is that kind of magic plug-in to just, really quickly analyze it versus, oh, we have a great rate. You have a good rate.
Yeah. Let's not get ahead of ourselves, buddy.
Yeah. Or you have a really good rate on these things. You just didn't know. You didn't used to ship to as many residential places as you do. Now you do. They got you there. So we'll find it. And then it's a question of, presenting. And the best thing is usually when somebody signs with us, 90% of the time, they come back and they sign with us again.
Yeah.
So to me, that's our satisfaction score.
There's no risk, really. There's no risk to it, right? So why not look?
No risk to the analysis. Do the analysis.
And the last thing you want is your CFO looking at package by package shipments. I mean, that just is not a good use of his or her time. So
no, well, and that's, when we present to you, what we're owed, we give you that package to package. Here's what you used to pay on that package. Here's what you pay now. Mm-hmm. And you see it every single. So there's no mystery also in the billing. So you don't just get a random bill and why do we owe them that? Well, here, okay, got it. Okay.
Yeah.
We used to pay $12 a package. Now we pay $9 a package. I see. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Well, Brent, thank you for coming on. Thanks for continuing to hang out in our industry. You've grown up in the industry, and it's good that you didn't go too far, and you're helping shoe companies figure out this shipping chaos, which it for sure is. So thanks for coming on our Shoe and Show today.
Well, hey, appreciate it. Thanks for all you guys do too. I know everybody appreciates it. That the tariff world's about as complicated as shipping, and you guys make it a little bit easier.
Yeah, no
not
problem.
too much cheaper, but a little bit easier.
Not cheaper for sure, but a little bit easier. We appreciate that feedback. Yeah. Folks, there's been another edition of the Shoe and Show. Go to shoeandshow.com to listen to our entire catalog. Also go to shoetube.org. That's where we're now posting videos for this. You can follow us on Instagram, elsewhere, LinkedIn. We're all over the place. If you want to suggest a guest, hit us up at info@fdra.org. If you want to come on yourself, send us a note and we'll consider the opportunity for you to come on. Again, thanks for listening. Until next time, Shoe and Show is out.
Shoe In has been brought to you by the FDRA, the Footwear Industries Association focused on retail, trade, politics, and fashion, helping create and enhance conversations on all things footwear. For information about FDRA, visit fdra.org.